It's Saturday, March 1st in the year 2025, also known as the smartest year ever. My name is Gordy, and today we are talking about the month of March in general. So you can see it is a new month, a new shirt, blue shirt for the month of March. Having a little consistency there. Yeah, so I did this for February, the start of February, and learned a lot about February, and I think these are actually pretty fun. One, because they come every month, so it gives me something to look forward to in terms of material, but it also incorporates some history, a little bit of astronomy, some language, etymology, things like that. Lots to sink your proverbial teeth into. So I enjoy topics like these that span a bunch of different categories, modalities of trivia or whatever you want to call them. March. The month that once ruled the calendar, dedicated to war, new beginnings, and a god with a serious temper. But why was it originally the first month of the year, and what made it so important to the ancients? March takes its name from Mars, the Roman god of war, and in early Roman times it wasn't just another month, it was the first month of the year. The original Roman calendar, said to be established by Romulus in the 8th century BCE, only had 10 months, and March, or Martius as it was called, was the grand opener. It made sense. Winter was ending, armies could march again, and life was restarting after months of cold dormancy. So that got me thinking, how did March stay in the same season if the early Roman calendar only had 10 months, right? And if it was similar length days, it's just every year it's going to be different because, we know how long it takes for the Earth to orbit the sun now. And so that was my question. It got me thinking, how did March stay the same? Wouldn't it kind of when we stagger it and miss 2 months, wouldn't it be 2 months earlier if it's only 10 months later? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. The Romans just ignored winter. Their calendar only accounted for about 304 days, leaving an unassigned gap of around 61 days between December and March. Instead of adding extra days to the month, they simply resumed counting when March began again, ensuring that it always aligned with the arrival of spring. And I was like, how did they get it right every time? Well, specifically, it seems they called it March. They say, hey, it's March again upon seeing the first visible new moon after the winter solstice. And this year, the first visible new moon occurred on February 28th, I read, so yesterday. So that's pretty cool. That seems like that system works, huh? I wonder why. I wonder if our system is based off of celestial things. So this system lasted until later reforms like Julius Caesar's introduction of the Julian calendar in 46 BCE, which added January and February to create a continuous year. And I talked about this in the February episode a little bit more. And I touched on it on the January episode, I think with Janice, February and Februa. I talked about that. So check out those episodes from previous months to learn more about that. Though named for the god of war, Mars, for Romans, Martius, as the month was called in Latin, wasn't just about war, it was also about renewal. It was the start of the year back then. So it was a time of festivals honoring Mars, but also matronalia, a holiday celebrating women and motherhood. The transition from the old year to the new year was marked by sacred fire rituals and purification ceremonies, reinforcing the idea of March as a month of action, transition, and rebirth. The Roman calendar was eventually adjusted, and by 153 BCE, the new year officially moved to January. I talked about this a little bit in my February 1st video. Again, go check that out. But that is why the names of the last 4 months, September, October, November, December, are numerically off. That the prefixes, the prefaces of those that made a lot more sense. That 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, when March was the 1st. But yeah, that's already blown my mind in the past 45 days or so. But there you have it. If March still feels like the real beginning of the year, when things finally start moving and the world wakes up again, well, for centuries, it's because March really was the beginning. And it actually makes a lot of sense in my eyes, It makes sense. Why don't we just start the year once everything's back? Woohoo! It makes sense to me. Let me know what you think. And march on over to my YouTube description to see all my sources. Please leave a comment, follow, rate, subscribe, like, share with your friends at Smartest Year Ever on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, at Smartest Year Ever on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. In the meantime, stay curious, stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalists. I will see you next time in the Smartest Year Ever. Thanks, everyone.